what does it mean to have like Niski on Fnatic right now? And I do want to kick off the conversation with that, because you're in a unique position where I want to talk later about how you prepared for two different opponents that are so wildly different in terms of style in the same weekend, because that seems quite challenging. But to start off, you were also a coach on Fnatic. So what has your read over the last few years on the changes that Fnatic has made, and then your preparation as Schalke going into this Fnatic roster this weekend?
Okay, so Fnatic is like a very, very special team to work with and a very special team to be a part of. They've been one of the only teams, I think, that have been outspoken about their internal issues throughout the years. And I think that is very different. I think there are a lot of teams that struggle with like internal issues or drama or players not getting along with each other.
Sometimes even the ones that win, if people don't know, it can be a very successful team and you can have a nightmare time, of course. Yeah.
Well, I was on this team for like almost 2 years. We won championships, right? And it wasn't always like the nicest team environment to be in. I think overall, like, it was pretty good and positive, and we tried really, really hard, which at the end of the day, I think is the most important part. But yeah, it can be a really stressful team to be on, especially some of the rosters in the last couple of years, some very difficult personalities. I think when this roster was announced this year, it just everybody kind of knew that this is a very, very explosive lineup as far as personalities is concerned, but also like very, very talented, I'd say.
Sure. And it's also, you've seen kind of players go both ways, right? Like you have players that you've coached now go back and be on Fnatic as well. So what was your preparation like? Because it seems you have the intimate knowledge of the org and the way that some of these players play, but you also have intimate knowledge of individual players on the Fnatic roster. So what was your approach to prepping the team for Schalke this weekend? And how did you devise your strategy around your knowledge?
So prepping for Fnatic, it is like probably like the most one-dimensional team I've ever had to prepare for by watching their scrims against us and watching their games. Like usually you prep for teams individually, but usually it's like you're still just trying to draft a good team comp and you're trying to play good League of Legends. But from reviewing our scrims against them in the previous weeks and reviewing their games, it was pretty much the same thing every game. They were just camping bot on every single slow push. Their jungler would be bot, no matter what. Their jungler would be trapping in bushes or on every single slow push, and they would just camp bot over and over and over again. And then mid game, all they would do is just try and fight mid over and over again. They would just run mid S5 and try and engage. They would draft champs that snowball very heavily. They would generally draft champs that allowed upset to carry the game if you got really fed. And that was like literally their two plays was camp bot on slow pushes and then engage mid 5-man. So the most important things for us were to just have champs that are good in the fights. Like, I know it sounds kind of basic, but like just I didn't want weak champions. I wanted strong junglers like Udyr, for example, or Volibear, where if they're trying to make these 3v3 happens or they're camping bot, that we can just win. And then just drill my team over and over again about just not dying to these 5-man plays mid, because it's actually unbelievable like how often this was all they would do.
I mean, you make it sound so easy. So
like it can go the other way too. Like I thought going to this day that one of these teams is getting 3-0'd. Either we're getting 3-0'd or they're getting 3-0'd, and I was happy that we're on the good end of it. But I think this team, like Fnatic, if they're having a good day and Selfmade is playing well and Upset is playing well, I think for sure like they can have pop-off series.
The thing is, what you're saying there, though, that's like an example of one thing I hate about League of Legends is there's a lot of analysis that actually has like a depth to it, but because people themselves don't understand the depth, they don't engage. Like a classic example, right? Everyone knows this meme. You'll remember it was from just before you were a coach, was when Skara went on the LCS and he said that famous line where he was like, it's like Dignitas is winning until they lose. And everyone went, ha ha ha, what an idiot. Of course they were. And I always thought like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Like every team that loses the game wasn't winning until they were losing. Like his point there was actually quite a shrewd one. It was about teams that accrue advantages and are in winning positions, but then throw the game. And every fan just took it as like, well, until you lose, of course you win. It's like they missed the point completely because they couldn't engage. So similarly, when you say that, like you just wanted to pick strong champions that could either fight in a 3v3 skirmish or in the 5v5 team fight, that's actually pretty notable if you're the coach of the team that on paper is supposed to have weaker players than G2, Fnatic, etc. These are teams that on like you said about the player talent, they're supposed to thrash your team. You're not supposed to be able to win. So you're not going to just coach only your style against them. You're going to look what short circuits them, right? What
But that's
gives
like
us a
different
chance
to what
to
we play
even
against
it up?
G2, for example.
Yes.
Like for G2, for example, it was a different approach. So I think it ended up working out pretty well. And yeah, I also think that
How would
Fnatic,
you contrast the two then? How do you do something different against G2 that you contrasted to what you did against Fnatic?
like versus G2, I think it was very different. It was very clear that their bot lane played a lot more like non-interactive, I would say. Like it's reckless, right? Like he's gonna farm, he's gonna CS very well, he's gonna play very, very safe, and he will probably be ahead if he gets what he wants mid-late game. I think he was playing a lot of champs such as Kai'Sa, but you also need to be aware of his Tristana, like famous Tristana, and all these sort of hyper carries, and that's kind of the look for them. Versus G2, at least for me, it was a lot more about just punishing their top side and punishing like specific blind picks that Wonder had, for example. Like we had the Darius prep for Sion. So it's not as much about like being able to fight this bot 3v3 and survive and like win the fights and then go mid and ARAM. It's more like, can we just counterpick top really heavily? Can we exploit the fact that they're playing 2 to 3 tanks in every single team comp? Like we had Darius Azir, for example. So it was a bit different of an approach.